selling 1,000 units only works if you're making luxury sports cars like Bugattis, right? If you're making something that's at an affordable price point for consumers, the number is 400,000 units a year. And my parents were in the market. I told them, no chance you should buy an EV. You should buy a plug-in hybrid because they're like 76 years old and they don't want to carry a 40-pound CCS charging cord at a DC fast charger. And so they're plugged in their garage at 110. They drive less than 34 miles a day. So they are 95% of their miles are electric. And when they want to drive to North Carolina or New York, they just fill up on gas, which is what they're used to. The fact that we have so much competition today in this space makes me confident that this electric vehicle future, which frankly is just a high performance, better car future, is like unstoppable now.
Hi, I'm David with EV World News. Today, Bill and I have a special guest. We have the outgoing director of the Loan Program Office of the Department of Energy, Jigar Shah. Welcome to our show today, Jigar.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's interesting looking at the success of Tesla. Bill and I look at a lot of hopeful companies like Canoo just went bankrupt. We've seen a few others. You know, you had, was it Workhorse? Nikola's not done too well. You know, there's been a lot of companies that we see, they have good ideas, they just can't ever quite get over the hump of where they're, or a good example right now is Aptera. So Bill and I are like, hey, somebody step in and help Aptera. You know, they're a 3-wheeled solar powered car, 2-seater. You familiar with it?
Yeah, but they don't really have a customer base. I mean, the thing that I think people just don't understand about the car industry, which I think you guys understand, is that selling 1,000 units only works if you're making luxury sports cars like Bugattis, right? If you're making something that's at an affordable price point for consumers, the number is 400,000 units a year.
Wow.
That's when Tesla became profitable, was 400,000 units a year. Rivian is not at 400,000 units a year, but they're heading in the right direction. And if their R2 comes out, then I think they will likely have a price point that might be able to attract that many sales per year, right? But Lucid, Canoo, Workhorse, right? None of those folks were on track to 400,000 units a year. So then the question becomes, what are you, right? If you're a glorified bicycle that basically just puts a cover, a rain shield on yourself, okay, maybe you could just make that in like a car, sort of like repair shop, right? And maybe you could just do it by hand and it's fine or whatever. But if you're going to make, like a fully automated line and all this other stuff, having 1,000 firm pre-orders doesn't get you there.
Yeah. Well, Aptera is I think, was it 60,000 pre-orders? But that's a far, no?
No. They have 60,000 people who said that they would give them their email address and maybe a $20 check. And that's fully refundable. And if you talk to Lawrence Berkeley or you talk to other people who've done the math, less than 3% of those people convert, right? And so and it's not, but it is just truth, right? The thing that, I love the fact that we have a Kickstarter nation. I love the fact that you can make some cool new backpack or pair of blue jeans or an Aptera and get everyone to crowdsource $1,000 or $20 worth of deposits. That's great. But when you talk about something that you and I both know that we're talking about, which are electric vehicles, right? There's going to be a lot of carnage, just like there was in the 1910s and 1920s and 1930s. A lot of those folks went out of business, and some of those brands stayed alive, like Oldsmobile or Buick or all those people, right? They got absorbed by General Motors. But a lot of those brands died, and you've never heard of them. The same thing is true with the steel industry. The same thing is true with the railroad industry. The same thing is true with lots of people who do what we all think of as infrastructure, right? And so that process of people dying is not a bad thing. We don't want to save them all. That's capitalism. What we want is a sufficient number of models for consumers to buy so that they feel like they have choice, right? So they're not just picking one car, but they've got 8 cars to choose from. And we're there now.
Oh, we certainly are. We certainly are.
The fact that we have so much competition today in this space makes me confident that this electric vehicle future, which frankly is just a high performance, better car future, is like unstoppable now.
It is. There's no question. I just can't see where anything could prevent EVs from taking over at this point. And I think that's a good thing. But we get a lot of criticisms of, EVs can't do this or do that. Most of it's just wrong.
Well, or maybe it's right? I mean, maybe it's right, but ultimately, you and I both know that the vast majority of people who buy an F-150 truck take it to the mall and back,
Right.
right? They never carry a boat trailer or whatever it is. So look, I agree with people. If you're carrying a boat or other things on a regular basis, it does reduce your mileage to if you have an EV. But the vast majority of miles that are driven by F-150, trucks are not hauling anything, right? So, like I understand that in edge cases that electric vehicles are not quite there yet, right? And some people feel like, fast charging doesn't work for them and and all these other things. And I totally get it, but I think you and I both know that for 50, 60, 70% of all the cars purchased every year, most folks are just driving them to work and back, getting groceries every once in a while. And what we have today is awesome for those people.
No, I'm with it. It's funny though, but all things, even things like charging. There's new tech coming out. We can see where in 5 years people are going to be charging in about a third of the time it takes now.
Yeah, I agree with you, but let's be honest with ourselves, right? The Tesla experience is seamless, right? So, like, I love the Tesla experience when I go to visit the national parks every spring break with my son. We only rent Teslas because they always work. I have a CCS EV at home. And, like when my parents were in the market, I told them, no chance you should buy an EV. You should buy a plug-in hybrid because they're like 76 years old and they don't want to carry a 40-pound CCS charging cord at a DC fast charger. And so they're plugged in their garage at 110. They drive less than 34 miles a day. So they are 95% of their miles are electric. And when they want to drive to North Carolina or New York, they just fill up on gas, which is what they're used to. And I think that's fine. And the fact that the state of California is mandating the plug-in hybrid vehicles this year have 50 miles of range means that for like 99% of consumers, they should just get a plug-in hybrid vehicle. And then their life doesn't change all that much, right? They plug in it at home and then they like fill it up on gas on long road trips. And I don't even have to teach them about fast charging.
Right. No, there definitely is some simplicity to that.
And on top of that, who wants a 150 kilowatt hour battery in their truck? I mean, what the hell? Like, you might as well have a 50-mile range battery that's whatever it is, like 27 kilowatt hours in your truck. And that probably meets almost all of your needs, right? And so, like, why would you carry around a 150 kilowatt hour battery pack everywhere you're going? So, part of what I think we need to do is to take away all the tribalism in this industry. And those of us who are super excited about the DC fast charging in 1/3 the time, you and I can like nerd out about that. And for the rest of the people who just don't care, they can just fill up on level 1 charging in their garage.
Yeah. I did, by the way, I got my Fiat 500e back in 2019. And for 3 years, I only charged it at 110. It works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't drive that much and you get, whatever it is, you get like 50 miles a day of range for at 110.
All right. So do you think the momentum you built at the loan program office is going to stall now?
Never. I mean, look, I think that again, look, the thing with the Biden administration is that we had maybe 500,000 cars that were sold in 2020, right? The last year of the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
And, now we're at a full,
1.1,
like 12%. Yeah. Of all
1.3.
cars sold or something. Yeah. I think we hit 1.5 million last
Oh,
year.
okay. That would be including plugins. That would include
Yeah.
plugins. Yeah.
Because plug-in hybrids, of course. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think, so we are way higher today than we were then.
Right.
I think the infrastructure is far more profitable today than it was then, right? Back then, the DC fast chargers were 5% utilization. Today, EVgo in their conference call said that they're at 24% utilization.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so that means that like they're actually profitable at like 18% or 17%.
Oh, that's
utilization.
amazing news. That's amazing news.
Yeah. So like, I think that when you think about how this ecosystem is coming together, it's coming together beautifully. I think when you think about, we had CCS and NACS. Now it looks like everyone's moving to NACS, which I think is great, right? So there'll be one thing. Now, we're still going to have all the same problems that CCS had, right? Which was Tesla worked because it was a closed ecosystem. Now that they have to support everyone else's software, all that stuff, like we'll see how that works, right? But we'll get through it. And so, I am very bullish that that we have achieved irreversible momentum, which I don't think was true in 2020. But I think today we have achieved irreversible momentum. And I think when you look at Amazon Prime and all of their last mile delivery trucks, they will tell you that it is so much cheaper per mile to deliver packages that way that they will never go back, right? And the same thing is true with Walmart, and the same thing is true with all the other folks. Like, like their infrastructure has to catch up, all that stuff has to happen. But Uber as well, like the Uber drivers who drive EVs are like, we make more money. Like it's the total cost of ownership is lower. So that, not all that stuff was true in 2020.
The clip you just saw was part of our live podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't miss out. Join us every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday right here on EV World News. We stream not just on YouTube, but also on Facebook and X, so you can catch us wherever you prefer. If you found this content valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share to help us grow. If you'd like to support our work, please consider becoming a YouTube member. It really helps us bring you the latest EV news and insights. I'll see you in the next one.